Say it ain't so. The end of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, because I feel like it's inevitable that we're getting a Season 2. But with that said, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome to our final discussion of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, Episode 24, Accomplices. But before we get to the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here, and I mean that because don't go anywhere. If you joined in just because of Jujutsu Kaisen, stick around, because obviously we got some Jujutsu Kaisen news, but we don't got news on a Season 2. However, I am actually thinking about doing a weekly news show, just sort of like a roundup that catches you up to speed on all the new anime news and some gaming news that happens throughout the week. Anything like otaku related, I'm gonna basically cover every Saturday. So they're basically going to be taking the place of where Jujutsu Kaisen used to be in the video schedule. So if you want to stick around with the channel, but you're not say you're not watching the same shows as me next season, then you have at least one thing that you can watch from me. You can keep up to date on the anime news. And if people enjoy that, then I'll keep doing it. But with that said, let's actually just talk about this week's episode, shall we? This fight, if you're going to end the season on a fight, if you're going to end us somewhere, this was the one. Because the Fushiguro fight is sick, right? Like, I love that fight. I love everything it does for Fushiguro. However, I think that this is the perfect place to end the season. Like, this felt perfect. Like, everything about this, I'm like, that is perfection. The whole series in general has been this way, so I don't know why I'm surprised. But I had gone into this episode, this finale, saying to myself, even if this finale is just like stick figures on the page for 24 minutes, it would still be a 10 out of 10 series for me. That's how good Jujutsu Kaisen is. That they could have just like slapdashed something together last second. Like everybody's just sipping coffee and forgot to animate the episode, and last second was like, oh crap, and just immediately rushed to their desks to throw something together. It still would have been a 10 out of 10 series because Jujutsu Kaisen has just been that damn good. However, with that said, you still have to be a little bit curious about what fight they're gonna leave this shonen battle series on. And they end it with Itadori and Kugisaki versus Keichizu and Eso. Now, Keichizu and Eso are characters who we were introduced to them last week. I keep saying yesterday all the time, I'm sorry. We were introduced to them last week, and their introduction was very much like, oh, look at these new curses. Are they curses? I don't know. I believe they are referred to as cursed paintings of some kind. They're sort of like splicing curses with humans in the sense that there was like a human who could birth curses. It's a whole crazy story. I'm not going to get into it, but that's like a thing apparently. And these are two of the three results of that, with the third one being some other guy. We'll probably see him in the future. But the two that we see in this week's episode, of course, being Keichizu and Eso, they're the ones who are basically going toe-to-toe with our squad. If you remember, Keichizu is the one character who I said had like such a crazy design. Like, they had this like crazy, so like they had like the no eyes, just eye sockets, and a mouth that just kind of drooped open, but then this crazy big mouth underneath, right? But the cooler design between the two of them, if I'm being totally honest, is Eso. Eso had this like from what I looked up, because you guys know, it's time for some design time. It's not a lot, mind you, just a quick design time. I love this design. So Eso, from what I looked up, has a slightly different design in the manga, which I'm noticing is like a trend. Even Keichizu had like the more monstrous curse-looking curse painting. He has a slightly different design as well, with the colors being more blue than they are sort of teal in the show. Whereas Eso does not wear spandex in the manga. No. He's rocking just a straight up thong. Just a straight up thong. And in the show they gave him spandex instead, which it still leaves nothing to the imagination, so you could have just put him in a thong. It would have been fine. But they gave him spandex instead. I do think he looks cooler in spandex, if I'm being honest, but you could have done the thong. Ain't nobody gonna complain, especially us for Joshi. We're gonna be just fine with that. But he also has, like, the suspenders. He's got, like, the stripper bow tie, the cuffs, you know. He is definitely meant to indicate a sort of, like, beautiful type character, right? Like a sort of like, oh, look how handsome and like he's like cool and suave, and he's a bit like mysterious and sexy and all that stuff. Until you see his back, in which case the dude has like a creepy looking demon mouth on his back, but it sprouts wings. Now, to me, this sort of angelic form for Eso when he's like fighting against Itadori and Kugisaki, I think is actually sort of indicative of his character as well. And again, design time, as you know, we sort of stretch, right? Like, am I overanalyzing? Completely. But I do think that maybe Gege was trying to tell you something with the design, because he is this sort of like, there's something about him that's endearing, right? Like the stripper look is just so goofy that you kind of can't help but be invested in it. And then the angel wings sort of make him look angelic, and his character is definitely one of the more angelic personalities that we've seen from these curses, in air quotes, because these guys aren't technically curses, but you know, like he's one of the more angelic of the antagonists that we have come across, and his personality, not so much his design. But I do think that that is very telling of the character, because Eso brings something to the table that, and you can tell I really like this character because I'm still going on about it. Eso brings something to the table that I think is different from other curses, and that being the fact that he genuinely cares. Like, when we get the fight, which I will talk about in a sec, but when we get the fight, it's interesting to note that Eso shows genuine sorrow and grief at the loss of his brother. Like, the loss of Keichizu really shakes Eso. Like, it's this badass moment, right? And I'm like, hell yeah! Like, I'm all proud of the squad. But then Esso's friggin' face. Like, Eso makes this shocked horror in his face, and it legitimately kind of broke my heart. Like, just seeing how upset he was. Like, it genuinely made me upset in the way that, like, say, like, big spoilers for JoJo's Part 5, but in the same way that the Assassin Squad is upset at the loss of, you know, other members, like Pesci and Prosciutto are a perfect example of when Pesci and Prosciutto like lose each other, it kills them inside, right? And that's sort of how I felt watching Eso lose Keichizu. It literally felt like that killed him inside. And it's similar to even like Kimetsu no Yaiba in the way that Itadori responds to it. Itadori like shows like genuine remorse in response to Esso's sorrow. And like to the point where even Fushiguro tells Kugisaki, like, don't tell anybody that he felt like that. Like, he does not need any more baggage than he already has being the vessel for Sukuna. Don't go telling people that he actually felt bad for those cursed painting things. Like, don't tell people that. It's a heavy scene, and I think it's important to show that there are, like, even with Hanami, we've noticed this, right? The curses are, like, showing emotion, right? Like, don't forget, like, Hanami was, like, having fun for the first time. Like, Hanami was having fun fighting Todo and Itadori. Like, that was a joyous moment for them. And with so you see joy in them, right? Even in Mahito, you see, like, weird glee in the things Mahito's doing. Mahito! He must pay. But I will never forget about Junpei. That rhymed, and it didn't mean to, but it did. But, yeah, so you see these characters these curses rather, having these emotions, and this is the first time we've seen genuine sorrow in a curse. Like, this was heavy. Even that shot of him, like, crying, and you see, like, their bodies, like, next to each other, that really hurt me for some reason. And I just think they nailed it, almost in a way that, again, is, like, Yaiba inspired. And you guys, if you saw my videos, know I really like Kimetsu no Yaiba. And I think one of the best things that show does is that it actually lets Tanjiro feel bad for killing the demons, but at the same time, it doesn't stop him. And that's the same thing with Itadori. Like, Itadori doesn't let that stop him from taking down Esso. He still kills the dude, right? He still wastes that guy. I don't know what happened to the truckers, and I don't think Kugisaki and Itadori know either. They don't really address it. But Itadori kills Esso and seemingly saves the truckers. I don't super know. But it's this moment where Itadori says, like, I'm sorry, and you can see it really tore him up. Not the fact that he had to kill that guy, because that's more of like that to me is much more of a Tanjiro thing. Like, Tanjiro just doesn't like killing in general, whereas Itadori doesn't have any problem killing curses. But if it's going to be a situation where they show that sort of human response, that kind of kills him inside. Like, you can just tell that really upset him. And he talks about it with Kugisaki, who didn't have not a single problem at all taking down those curses. She didn't give two shits. You know what I mean? But Itadori, it really hurt. And it hurt me too. And I wanted to just talk about it for a while because I just think that was phenomenal. And I want to talk about the design because I felt like I haven't been doing design time enough. I actually feel like I let you guys down covering Jujutsu Kaisen because I know a lot of people come to the channel, they like to hear me be, sort of like the chill, nice voice sounding guy. And then, talk about designs because I love character designs. But I didn't really have a lot of info on not only the characters or the seiyus, but even like the team behind the show. Like, I know Gege does the manga, but that's about it. Or should I call him Gege Sensei at this point? But because if you don't know, I put Sensei at the end of mangaka that I highly respect, and I very highly respect Gege at this point, even though that man be spoiling his own series. That's a topic for another day. But I do feel like I should have done more character design, so hopefully you guys might be talking a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit on Esso. And I don't, something about this whole scene hit me hard, in a way I wasn't expecting. And the thing too is, like, when I started watching this fight, I expected it to just be badass, and the fight itself is dope. It is so, again, like, this is the fight you end on. Like, if you must end the season on a fight, which you should, they ended it on a good one, and they brought out some A-class animators for it. You get Keiichiro Watanabe, who basically handles like the big badass duel shot. Like, I'm probably showing the screenshot up right now. Keiichiro Watanabe works on this shot, and it's basically the scene where, like, you see how both Itadori and Kugisaki have improved since the beginning of the season, right? We've come a long way with these two characters. Fushiguro, we start the season with him already kind of knowing what he's supposed to do. Nobara, she starts with a good amount of knowledge, but Itadori starts from, like, square one, and Kugisaki's knowledge has only improved as the series has gone on. So the fact that it's the two of them versus these two cursed brothers, it's kind of just dope. Like, it's a flashback to, like, the first time these two teamed up. We even see moments from that fight. And I think Keiichiro Watanabe's handling in this moment was super cool. I saw a lot of people on Sakugaboru commenting about how they felt like some shots were weird. Like, Itadori running on the wall felt like he wasn't really touching the ground, which I can kind of understand. But I do think Watanabe did a really good job in general. You have Tatsuya Yoshihara handling the Kugisaki kill, where, like, Kugisaki, like, snaps her fingers, and friggin' that my poor boy Keiichizu blows the hell up. That first of all, that shot was god tier until it later made me feel bad. It still looks sick though, like just her snapping her fingers and like the hair, just everything about it is sick. And you could really see Yoshihara's designs for these characters come out, because, like, each animator usually gets corrected by the chief animation director, who is usually the character designer. Basically, it's their job to just make sure that all the characters look on model. So the character designer, designs makes the characters design for the series, but then they usually serve as chief animation director, which just means they're the ones in charge of touching up the characters to make sure everybody looks on model. But each animator obviously has their own style, and I think Yoshihara's really shone here. Like, I could tell that was, like, animated by a specific person with a very specific vision for Nobara and how they animate characters in general. Like, it was still on model, but it looked very different. And I like when you get to see that, where it's like, it's still on model, it's still the same series, it's not like drastically shifting, because that can be too jarring, but when you can see a little bit of like the specific animator's style come out, I think that's really cool. And I think they handled that really well with Yoshihara's cut this week. And of course, Sung-Hoo Park, who I mentioned last week. Sung-Hoo Park, once again, going above and beyond, not only directing, but animating as well. He does like the super sick shot of Eso and Itadori like fighting against the wall. It's super cool, and again, just the whole fight itself is really dope. And the thing is, I wish I could talk more about and give more praise to every single animator who works on every single episode, but the thing is, like, I'm kind of reliant on Sakaguboru to tell me who that is, because as much as I like seeing individual artists, there's so many like animators that I can't really tell who's animating who unless it's like a specifically big name. Right, like, so for a lot of instances, I just don't know, unfortunately. But like, a lot of people who worked on this series are people who you can trust. Like Watanabe worked on a lot of Mob Psycho. Sung-Hoo Park obviously worked on a lot of stuff recently with God of High School and stuff like that. So they're characters, they're animators who you would know, and they really bring their A game to the series. And this fight was super sick, and I wanted to just gush about it for a second. As for the future of Jujutsu Kaisen, what is next? Well, I will tell you. What is next is that Gojo has some big secret mission for the trio. Although the trio do laugh and say that he always says it's a big secret mission and that it's probably just another mission. But it doesn't matter, because they're going to go do it, and the squad leaving together is sick. And then, in a surprising turn of events, Maki, Panda, Fushiguro, Kugisaki, and Itadori all get recommended for first grade by Todo and Meme, which is surprising. Like, that felt like a little sudden, because isn't first, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, don't be mean about it, please, but just correct me if I'm wrong. First grade is that not like the highest, well, maybe not the highest, but like that's pretty high for a sorcerer, right? Like, is that not the highest you can be as a student, or in general? I don't know that. Well, because even douchey principal, not Yakuza principal. No. Not Kiryu principal. Kiryu-chan. No, not him. Douchey principal. He says that like that first grades are the ones who are supposed to lead the other Jujutsu sorcerers. So those 5 being nominated for first grade, that seems very sudden. Well, maybe not sudden, but that seems very fast. I was like, really? Damn. Like, not in a bad way. I was just shocked. I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, I get why. They've been doing really badass things, so why not just bump them up to first grade? Why the hell not? The thing that surprised me is that Inumaki doesn't get bumped up either. Or doesn't get bumped up at all. That's a little weird. I was a little surprised by that. I was like, really? And neither does Kamo either. That was weird. Yeah, I was like, really? Those two don't get... Okay. I mean, okay. I just thought that was weird. I was like, oh, okay. I feel like both of those two showed that they were pretty badass. I mean, I guess they didn't really get to do a whole lot during the like inter-school battle, but still, I did feel like they probably should have also gotten the first grade designation, but I guess not. But the other big thing that happened, and you guys have probably already heard this news, and if you haven't, here it goes. We're getting a movie. We are getting a Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie. Wow, speaking of Yakuza 0, you should play it. But Jujutsu Kaisen is getting Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is going to be a movie talking about the big prequel series that came out that a lot of people told me to read and then realized, oh wait, it's JoJo, he's not going to read it. Crap. And so a lot of people were hoping that there was going to be an OVA or something I could watch to check out this character who shows up in the prequel, because a lot of people said like the prequel's not like especially important, like you don't necessarily need to have it to understand what's going on, but it's very important for a character who is likely to show up later. So cool. So we're gonna get this prequel arc. Well, not a prequel arc, a prequel movie. And that is awesome news. I cannot wait to see this thing. I don't know if they gave a specific date yet, but I will, when I start doing the news show, actually make sure that I check that kind of stuff before I start talking on the mic. But I don't know when it's coming out, but I know that it is a thing. And I am very excited to actually dive into this movie when it comes out, because I want to see what all the hype is about, because everybody said that the prequel is super good. So I can't wait for that. But in general, this whole season has been a straight up 10 out of 10. I haven't seen a first season come out the gates swinging this hard in I don't even know how long. My only fear is that Mappa is maybe, like, I fear that Mappa might be taking on a little too much because, let me remind you guys that I'm a big Yuri on Ice fan. It's like one of my favorite anime. Y'all got time to be animating a Kaisen movie and you haven't given us the friggin' Victor prequel movie that nobody even asked for years instead of a season 2? Y'all got time for that? Are you sir? Are you certain? Sir, are you sir? Are you sir? I'm stumbling over my words. I'm just gonna end the video here. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first, and the way I would recommend, is to hit that Patreon link in the description. It's a single $1. You get your name scrolling past the screen. I think that's a pretty good deal myself, and you get to help me keep the lights on around here because this is my job, and I would like to eat food every day. So that's a thing. So yeah, a single $1 helps me out a ton, gets your name across the screen, or you could check out that join button right beside the sub button that gets you a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, all that fun stuff. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit that join button, or check out the Patreon page. Either way, super appreciated. Once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron, and this is the end. I am stalling because I don't want to stop talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. I really love this show, and I'm going to miss it terribly. The bi energy in this show was so strong. Just such a good series. Anyway, bye!